We'll call this meeting to order of the Ventura County Board of Supervisors for July 16th. Would you do the roll call, please?
Supervisor Bennett. Supervisor Parks.
Yes, here.
Supervisor Long.
Here.
Supervisor Zaragoza.
Here.
And Supervisor Foy.
Here. Supervisor Bennett will be here in just a few minutes. She was just delayed on the item. All right. I'd like to do our moment of inspiration, and I'd like to welcome Claire Hope. She's back here and with Ventura County Stand Down for over 20 years. The Stand Down has provided valuable services to our homeless veterans. Thank you for joining us this morning, Claire.
Thank you for allowing me the time to be here this morning. It's an honor to discuss our event that's coming up on July 26, 27, and 28. Ventura County Stand Down is basically an effort to assist veterans who are homeless with a myriad of services to help them become productive citizens of our community. Our successes are when veterans come to our stand down as homeless, they return the following year as volunteers, and that to us is a wonderful success, and they share that success with those veterans who are there to get the assistance. Our event's going to take place at the California Armory, National Guard Armory in Ventura, and we've been there for 9 consecutive years. And prior to that, we were at Ventura College, and due to their new turf, we were no longer allowed to pitch tents there at the stand down. The CBs, I want to thank the CBs for their continual service for 21 consecutive years by providing us with cots, tents, tables, and chairs. We have 25 CBs that show up to set up Tent City for a stand down, so our vets are able to sleep there during the 2-night, 3-day event. I would like to thank the veterans organizations who've been participating in this event for 21 consecutive years, the VFWs, the American Legions, all our organizations and our community citizens who participate in this event year after year. I also would like to thank my committee chairs who have been with me for 21 consecutive years and pretty much helped me make it a success. Of course, we'd like to thank our volunteers. We have approximately 300 volunteers every year to put this effort on, including attorneys and judges and doctors and nurses and dentists. So we're very thankful for those people. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the County Board of Supervisors for your ongoing support of our County Veterans Service Office. Thank you so much.
Well, Claire, thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you. I would now like to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone, please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hopefully everybody here gets the opportunity to be out there and help out. Thank you so much. It was great to hear the pledge said with so many people here today on such a special thing, so thank you. All right. Let's move quickly on to our minutes of June 25th. We have a motion. We have a second. All right. And then we will move on to our agenda review. Mr. CEO, is it coming?
Thank you, Chair Foy. Just a few items. Item 15, Healthcare Agency Agreement with Health Management Associates. Request that this item be heard on the regular agenda. That's 15. Item 18, also Healthcare Agency Agreement with Ventura County Hospitals for VCMC Hospitalist Services. A revised board letter has been submitted, distributed, and posted to the web. Item 30, Sheriff, authorization for the Sheriff's Office to submit an application for jail construction funding grant. Agenda page 8 has been revised to indicate this item will be heard on the regular agenda. Item 36, General Services Agency, Steckle Park Aviary Operation Plan. A PowerPoint has been submitted, distributed, and posted. And finally, item 45, Airports Lease Amendment with Golden West Air Terminals. A PowerPoint has been submitted, as well as a comment letter from Charles McLaughlin, which have been distributed and posted to the web. And that's it.
All right, that's great. Anybody have anything else? We have the agenda as revised. Motion for that, a second? Okay, then let's move on to our, I think, is it ready to go? You got everybody? One more, who's missing? There it is, okay, great. Then we'll move on to our consent items. So it's going to be 10 through, you said 14, pull 15, 16 through 29, and then pull 30, and including 31. Do we have anything else anybody wants to pull a comment on? Okay, we have a motion for that, those. Since those two were on consent, real quick, why don't we hear, pardon? Wait, one more vote? Why don't we hear those two real quick? We have the sheriff's, which would be number 30. Is he still here, or is it in the crowd someplace? Sheriff Dean? No? He just stepped out. Why don't we do number 15 then, if Barry's here? There he is. Oh, hang on. It's a race.
Oh, Barry. Oh, look at that.
Barry, he wears a gun. Are you crazy? Oh.
Not as quick as he used to be. Chair Foy, board members, Mr. Powers, Barry Fisher with the Healthcare Agency, asking for approval and waiving of bidding requirements for health management associates. They've been working with us at the healthcare plan for the last 6 months with all the quick turnaround times of covered California and our pursuit of national accreditation. We're asking for your approval of this, and I'm open to any questions.
Anybody have any comments, questions? No? Oh, yeah, okay. This was pulled, we had it on consent originally. It was pulled for a reason because of?
It was pulled because there was a question between General Services and County Council on whether or not it needed to be discussed with the board because of the waiver of the bidding requirements.
Right. Okay.
And the amount. Okay.
Good. Any other comments on this? All right, we have a motion to approve. Appreciate you catching that part. You better get out before the sheriff gets back down here. Sheriff Dean, just take your time. Walk.
All of you, please don't laugh at Barry's jokes. It's really bad. Chair, board members of the board, Mr. Powers, Jeff Dean, Sheriff, I'm here this morning to get your authorization to apply for a state grant of approximately $26 million, which is available under Senate Bill 1022 to provide funds for jail construction. SB 1022 came about as a result of realignment and the governor and the state realizing that there was a housing crisis and we are shortage of housing, particularly for medically challenged and our mentally ill inmates. Our county has a long history of providing quality health care and quality mental health services for those in need. And it's not always real popular to do that for those in custody. But we not only have a constitutional mandate, but I believe we have a moral obligation to do that. These people certainly aren't there by choice, and they're a very, very challenging population. Those that are in custody have a variety of medical problems. Probably close to 30% of our population has been diagnosed with some sort of mental illness. So the department did a feasibility study, as you read in the board letter, and we looked at a variety of options, everything from a 45-bed facility to a $90 million bed facility with ongoing costs of $22 million. And we realized that that's just not appropriate, and it's just not a workable solution. The staff, Commander Oxner and her staff, worked hard, and this 64-bed proposal we think is very reasonable. It's a very, very low end of the options. It will provide single story, which when you're dealing with mentally ill inmates, a single story is a critical issue. Having two tiers for people that have a variety of challenges is a very difficult situation. And this will provide additional bed space. Right now, one of our housing units houses nothing but our mentally ill, and we have 30 in there because they have to be completely isolated by themselves. Well, that'll leverage us to be able to put 90 in there and bring those with medical and mental illness challenges to appropriate housing. Now, this is about a 3-year build-out, so the county probably wouldn't see any additional staffing costs for another 2.5, 3 years. And the staffing is actually pretty low. It's a very efficient model. It'll only be one additional deputy, some additional medical costs or medical staffing, which Catherine Rodriguez from the CEO's office will help us and be involved in providing an adequate level, and then some additional GSA costs. I appreciate the GSA people gave us a quote quite rapidly, and a very reasonable quote on what those costs might be. So again, this is just an approval of your board to go after the grant. We think we'll be successful. We think our target proposal mimics what the new State Board of Corrections is looking for. If it is approval, come back to your board with direction, details, and request for your approval for us to move forward, working through the CEO's office. And concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chair. Sheriff, I understand there's a 10% match from the county, and that's in kind.
There's a 10% match. Part of it can be in kind. I think the figures are about a little over $1 million already in kind, which includes the value of the property and some other work that we've been done. So the estimate at this point is about a $2.3 million in cash, if you will, match if we get the grant and we start to move forward.
And I think it'll help you too because of the overcrowding conditions that you have now.
Well, we're overcrowded, but we're actually less overcrowded than many jails throughout the state.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, one, just my compliments to be proactive about the mentally ill in the jail. Not all sheriff's departments, as you point out, probably be as proactive on it. So congratulations and thank you for that. Second, you identified that moving the 30 out would free up 90 beds from that one isolation unit for the mentally ill. Total 64 beds built this way will result in how much of an increase in capacity at the jail for you? I know you have that number out there. I'm really just trying to get that out there.
Probably about 120, 150 additional
So
beds.
building 64 beds gets us 120 beds in
Yes.
the jail,
Yes.
which is certainly a great trade-off also.
Huge, yes.
Yeah,
thank you.
I also just wanted to compliment you. Part of the state's effort right now is trying to provide better care for the mentally ill in jail, so I'm glad that we are doing that here in Ventura County. I know also we contract out for that medical service for them, and perhaps in the future we can look at having our own behavioral health department provide those services. At any rate, we're going to end up having, I think, better linkages for those folks when they come out of jail. We've done a spectacular job already reducing the recidivism of the mentally ill. So my compliments to you. If we have to expand the jails, this to me is a really humane way of going about it. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. We have a great partnership with behavioral health, and we actually have their staff in the facility now doing a lot of substance abuse treatment and some new things.
A couple of things. One, I support this. I think it is a good direction to go in, and the study helped to, I think, provide solid information. I'd ask when the application is put forward to get a copy of it, because having served on these committees that review these applications for these grants, I know they're very detailed, and they ask a lot of information, and they look at cost per bed and all of the analysis. And I think it'd be helpful for us to have that when the grant's awarded and it comes back to us for further discussion. So if you would do that.
Absolutely.
And also I'd ask that you reach out to the community of Santa Paula. Obviously, you know there's some concerns there, and be happy to work with you on that. And also to look at, what was my third? Oh, if you would just speak briefly to the issue related to health care in jails versus when you have inmates who go outside of the jail, and how the monies are picked up in one manner, not in another. And it's frankly an issue up and down the state for all correction services. So
Thank you, Supervisor. Yeah, it's very challenging. If you are outside of custody and you qualify for Medi-Cal or Medicare, those institutions pick up those costs because you pay your taxes and that's what you get. As soon as you come in custody, the local taxpayer picks up that entire burden.
Right.
And so it's very challenging. We're optimistic that there may be some alternatives on a new health care plan if it ever takes place. And we've been working closely with the CEO's office and our medical officials to see if we may be able to get some form of reimbursement for some of the medical costs that we're incurring. Because these long-term inmates that we're seeing now,
Right.
all of a sudden, we're doing a lot of preventative things that we didn't do before because we had people for less than a year.
Right. We're seeing inmates, not necessarily in our facilities, but up and down the state, that'll come in and they've got 12, 20 years left on their term, and they have serious terminal illnesses, and that cost comes to the local jurisdiction.
We did a triple bypass not too long ago for somebody.
Right. Didn't you do that outside of the jail so someone else picked it up? Tell me you did.
He's still in custody. I tried. Trust me, I try to release everyone I can before they get. So Barry can pay the bill.
There you go.
Yeah, Sheriff Barry was going to pick up that $3 million match, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Now he is.
All right.
Well, great. Appreciate that, too. And I know a lot of people always complain about or worry about you can build it, but can you staff it? You already have 30 people. You're already staffing that. You're already doing that health care. We're just going to put it in a different building and move some more, like Supervisor Bennett said, we're going to get some more opportunity to put these other people in. So it's not like we are starting from scratch and having to staff all that. And I think that's already doing that. And you've gone from a jail to a prison, and you have to look long-term for these people, and I think it's what we have to do. So I appreciate you being, like I said, being out in front on the whole thing, trying to get the money while it's out there for us, and that's great. So we have a motion on this. We have a second, and look forward to your success on getting that grant.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next time you got to run faster. Barry's pretty quick. All right. Public comments. How many public comment cards do we have? Do we know yet? 6? Why don't we keep these down to 3 minutes so we can get through all this? And we'll start with David Goldstein.
Good morning, Chairman Foy, members of the board, Mr. Powers. My name is David Goldstein, and I'm taking a vacation day today from my job as an environmental resource analyst. I have worked for the County of Ventura and been a proud member of SEIU for 22 years. Over the last 4 months, the county has shared its budget figures and numerous successes in staying in good fiscal shape during trying economic times. And during those presentations, it was made clear that employees often shouldered the burden as the county sought innovative ways to invest in new solutions. Simply put, we had to do much more with much less, so the county could save money in the long term. For example, while workers' wages have stagnated, in my own water and sanitation department, we inaugurated a multi-million-dollar solar power project that will save money in the long run by replacing 80% of the Moore Park wastewater treatment plant's power. We also invested millions of dollars in capital projects, enabling us to save money in the long run by selling reclaimed water. And we implemented an automatic meter reading system that cuts the cost of reading meters and also enabled monthly rather than bi-monthly billing, which will save money as interest rates rise. In other departments, from the multi-million-dollar Acela system for more efficient permitting, to the multi-million-dollar Cerner system for management of health records, to the CalWin website and PSSA, massive county investments have been made in recent years to achieve long-term savings. These savings depend on the retention of county workers trained to use these systems. We're encouraged that property tax revenues are up, reserves are at recent highs, things are starting to look a lot better for the County of Ventura. Recent news reports state that property tax revenue is up by $33 million. County has an unexpected $10 million reserve surplus, and county unrestricted reserves are extremely healthy and at a 17-year high with over $100 million saved up for a rainy day. It's time to take some weight off the shoulders of county workers and our families, and for you to advocate for and approve reasonable raises and contract improvements that we have earned It's time for us to catch up with the cost of living increases and our rising health care costs. Please reinvest in the county's most valuable resources, county workers. Be a VIP. Make a valuable investment in personnel. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. We can keep the clapping, we can get through it, but appreciate the comments. And you know what? We do agree, it's all partnership. So thank you, because all those savings and all the hard work comes from everybody working together. Thank you for your comments there. I think like Jill? Mako Aulu? Mako, I don't know how to say it. Jill. There she is. Thank you.
It's Makua Ole. Good morning, Chairman Foy, members of the board, and CEO Powers. My name is Jill Makua Ole. I'm a client benefits specialist for the Human Services Agency in the County of Ventura. I am a proud member of the local SEIU 721. I have worked for the county for 12 years. As a working mom of 5 children, the last 4 years have been very challenging. Not only have the caseload changes at our site increased fourfold, my family has had to survive. As cost for everything goes up, my salary has stayed the same. Economists talk a lot about the increased cost of living, but that reality is apparent every time I go to buy groceries, gas, clothes, school supplies for my kids, 2 kids in college, and paying on student loans. My husband also works for the county and has gone without a raise too. We've barely been able to keep up. And then our health care premiums for Ventura County health care went up, another big bite taken out of our take-home pay. This contract is time for reasonable raises. We've all been patient and worked hard to help the county through this rough time. But who's going to help us? The impact of not having any salary increases for 4 years means that we are all more and more financially stressed, and most importantly, so are our families. We gave up 3% in county pension contributions a few years ago. We were told we would be made whole when the county recovered. Now it's time for some relief in the form of a fair raise and some help with our health flex payments so we can help our families just as we help our clients. On behalf of all county employees, I urge you to stand up for the people who work so hard to make our county a great place to live, work, and raise our families. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rachel Flores?
Good morning, Chairman Foy, CEO Powers, and Board of Supervisors. Before we start, I'd like to ask Alex Dinkle, our member, to hand each one of you a shirt from our union. And
I'll gladly do that.
It says SEIU 721. You can see everybody wearing them. But it also has a great design showing all of the areas where we have workers and we support our county. So, Alex, that one's for Bennett. They're each in line. And Linda, we got you a small one. I hope it works. They're all in order. And Leroy, you get a shirt too. Right. Can drape them over your chairs, as we tell county employees sometimes.
That's not over $25. You have to claim that, right?
What was that?
It's not over $25. You got to claim it, right?
No. We bought in bulk, so we got the quantity discount. Again, good morning. My name is Rachel Flores, and I'm the Regional Director for SEIU 721 here in Tri-Counties. SEIU 721 is proud to represent almost 4,600 hardworking men and women who work for the County of Ventura, some who are here today. As you know, we currently are in negotiations with the County of Ventura for a successor agreement, and believe it is time to reward employees with reasonable wages and contract improvements. It's been almost 5 years since SEIU members have had any wage increase. The members you see here today took time off from work to attend this meeting to demonstrate to you their commitment to the residents of the County of Ventura, to each of you, and to their families. Over 1,000 members participated in our Rally on Wheels in the last 2 weeks. From Simi Valley, Fillmore, Santa Paula, Camarillo, Oxnard, Saticoy, and here in Ventura, members are and have been fully engaged in this fight for fair wages. This County of Ventura not only survived the past 4 years of economic turmoil, it maintained and improved services for residents and businesses. Employees were told to do much more with fewer resources, and they stepped up to the challenge and helped the county to survive and thrive. While going almost 5 years without a raise, these workers have continued to put the needs of the public they serve before themselves and before their families sometimes. As a representative, I'm here today to say enough is enough. Today, this county, unlike many other counties in the state of California, is on solid financial footing. We hear good reports all the time. Something just came out in the paper today. And the forecast continues to look better. The tide is turning now, and it is time to recognize and reward the county's most valuable asset, the professionals who dedicate their lives as inspectors, street maintenance workers, pharmacists, housekeepers, social workers, healthcare professionals, case aides, clerical staff, paralegals, and hundreds of other classifications throughout our great county. We're not asking for outrageous increases, and we are more than willing to do our part to help you meet your goals regarding pension reform, budget issues. We are more than willing to do our part. We always have done our part. In fact, we gave up 3% in pension contributions a few years ago with a commitment from the county to give raises when the economy improved. That day has come, and we are still hearing in a few more years. We are also asking the county to honor American veterans by closing the doors on Veterans Day. Turn the lights off. We are so proud to have veterans here in the room today. I would like to ask any veterans in the room today to please stand up. Ed Alamillo brought a flag today that his dad carried in World War II. It's very special. Our member Alex joined me today. I asked him to come today. He continues to serve our country, keep us safe.
Yes, ma'am.
So we are asking again that you honor Veterans Day with no strings attached. We are here today and forced to implore you as elected leaders to do what is right and reach into your robust reserve of over $100 million and help the people who have sacrificed so much on your behalf and my behalf as residents of Ventura County. We are heading out in front to continue our rally on wheels right here in front of the government center. So when you hear our music and rally cries, take a break and come out and join us. Have some coffee. But remember our resolve for a fair contract. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mr. Chair, I know we're not supposed, Rachel, I know we're not supposed to respond, but I want to thank the veterans, and your dad too, because my dad was also a Second War veteran. And Alex, thank you, and all the vets that are here today. Thank you for the service to the community.
Thank you very much.
Well, looks like they're leaving.
I guess, huh? All right. That's all right.
Okay. Well, before you all go, I just want to thank you for stating your cases so well and so passionately. And you have been tremendous partners and really helped navigate the county through this challenging time and help sustain services for our community. So thank you very much for all you do.
Okay. I'm looking for D. D. Yes, okay.
I have some paperwork that I brought in. Thank you so much. She copied some for me because I'm forgetful. I'm asking that my name be redacted because I'm discussing where I live, and I have a domestic violence problem. So you guys can see I'm on the up and up. It's just that
Sure, no
through the
problem.
paperwork, you'll understand that it says where I live. Anyhow, I came here. I'm disabled. I have a progressive disease that will eventually kill me. I deal with Gold Coast a lot and a lot of your county workers, and other than Barry Fisher's office, most executives that I have come across, you should be ashamed how well paid they are and how little they do, how little they know. And you guys have the whole budget now for Gold Coast and for housing. I'm facing going into a nursing home and having to sue the county. And I'll read you what I asked for an accommodation. I don't know if you know this, but in low-income housing, sometimes it made me cry that there's services available if I go to jail or if I'm a drug addict. But the veterans and the disabled people who grew up here and were exposed, if they're my age, to chemicals. We used to rub the DDT on us to keep the gnats off. Those were the days. So now a lot of us are suffering. That's what you're looking at in our population. So to get low-income housing for disabled people, there just isn't any. They don't list it separately on the list. It's impossible for me to go to the meetings for Gold Coast. Even to this meeting, they're completely inaccessible through transportation. You're spending over $400 to send me to Loma Vista through Gold Coast Transport, but nobody's thought that maybe one of my relatives might do it for $30 or $40. I'm going to end up in a nursing home at about $10,000 a month, plus the overhead you have to pay LA County. But they won't give me a reasonable accommodation for a more accessible unit where I live. And this is what the Justice Department and the California Fair Employment and Housing that oversees your HUD said, that it has to do with Government Code Section 12955, Subdivision A, that if there's a more accommodated unit, that the county should keep track of them. A lot of your counties don't even list their public housing anywhere, like Camarillo and Thousand Oaks don't even make the list available. So that's kind of against the law, kind of a problem. And it's not on the website, so it's totally not accessible to disabled people. And then you're going to spend $10,000 a month, because this is out of your pocket now. You guys get all the money for health care. So the county is responsible for how many times I go to the emergency room and paying for my long-term care. But your offices seem to have no interest in dealing with the board of directors or these hugely paid people at the place on Hillcrest, what's that called? The County Housing Authority. Nobody's overseeing them. So when you have people in a job that have worked there for years and years and years, and really they don't have a boss, what could go wrong? So I'm asking anybody here that could help me. I've asked your offices, and they said, no, go to the board of directors. The board of directors gave us crickets, but I'm just saying as a county to be more involved in the overall picture, not only just to do the nice thing and have a can-do attitude, but doesn't it make more sense financially to not have me in a nursing home? I don't understand. I just don't. And there's really nowhere to get help, and this inaccessibility thing is it's a huge, huge, huge problem to my doctor's appointments, anywhere. If anybody has any questions, I left my phone number, and if any of your offices can do anything, it just seems pretty sad that no one will help me, and I get to go to a nursing home and contemplate suing the county, that those are my options.
Supervisor
Yeah,
has a comment.
I would like to be able to give you a call, have my office talk to you. There are other organizations besides the Area Housing Authority that we can look at, and so I'll make a due diligent effort to assist you, and I agree with you. It's a lot better for you to be able to be in a affordable,
But the federal government agrees
accessible
that the
unit.
housing authority is doing something illegally.
Yeah, okay.
And why would you do it anyway? Why would you just be mean? And you can see from the correspondence that they're just flat out being mean. Yeah, we know it's available, but we're not giving it to you. We'll let anybody else have this unit, but not you.
I'm going to look into the background on it. This is out in my district, and that's why I'm speaking up for you.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and your office is very nice, but just to let you know, dealing with all the other various people at Gold Coast and at VCMC and I don't know what you call their executive offices, I have never dealt with more incompetent, rude, awful people. That one of the quotes was for the head of VCMC about the new records. I told her a problem, and the state called because they were concerned. We don't have to listen to the state. This is what happens when you have housing authorities and little enclaves that you guys aren't looking over. And then when you find out what their salaries are, it's enough to make a difference to the people. Huge salaries, more than you guys make, that would actually make a difference, and these people aren't working. Like at the Housing Authority, you have no more new Section 8 or anything like that yet. They haven't reduced their work hours and their staff like everyone else has.
Okay, let me work with you through my office and see if we can deal with the primary issue here, which is, let's see if we can assure you some housing, and also I understand your concerns about the organization. So let's.
Well,
talk
and the
on
transportation, I ask you because you guys are all looking at the Gold Coast budget now and cutting it up. You're helping subsidize Gold Coast $500, and I've done that probably 20 times to go to Loma Vista and another place far away. But they'll only pay my son $20 through in-home support services. Now, which makes more sense to the county? Should you maybe figure out a way to send out a check to a relative or a college student that might do it for less than $500? Just a thought here, and it would make my life so much easier. Or if I could just go to the train station out in at Castaic, if you guys thought about that. What they're doing now, if you have to go somewhere really far downtown, is you have to take 6 buses and go all the way around in a circle to get back to Ventura to go to Loma Linda. How do you think that's working for me? And they don't have the specialist here in the county, so that's why that's going on.
Okay. Well,
But
why don't you, I appreciate you coming, and one of the goals here is, and I know under Mr. Powers' leadership, is to have quality service with a can-do attitude and try to find and even work within some very difficult state and federal regulations that don't seem logical in a lot of ways. And I know they do it, but I appreciate Supervisor Parks.
no, there is no regulations. This is what happens when you have those places work on their own with no oversight. Like I would think that maybe to ask for a forensic audit about Gold Coast to help you, it's free to the county. But instead I hear you're paying some agency millions of dollars. We don't have enough doctors. And you're asking your doctors, every time I go see my doctors, they have a new list of things they have to do. So what makes more sense for you to have more competent referral clerks, a couple more, or to make every doctor take on 20 hours more a week? I don't know. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer.
Right.
And I can figure this out.
All right.
You
Well,
know?
we appreciate that. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. And the people from before.
That's right. You can leave that there. They'll use it if we need it.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate Supervisor Parks you got involved in that. Lucas.
Yeah. Check your math. 3 times 6 is 18, and I think the people are supposed to get 30 minutes, but that's okay. Robust reserves of $100 million. Wow, let's get back to that a little later. Daniel Hufrick, they called him Danny, was killed by the Ventura County Sheriff's Department on Saturday. According to the Ojai Valley News, he allegedly pointed a gun at officers. I'd like to see the dash cam of that event taking place. I'd like that to be released to the public. I'd also like the names of the officers involved with the shooting to be released to the public, and a full investigation into the killing of Daniel Hufrick done by an independent investigative committee because, of course, if the county investigates itself, then they're, of course, going to find them clear of any wrongdoing. Robert Ramirez and Alfonso Limon were murdered by Oxnard police. They were both confirmed to be unarmed, and so that was certainly a murder and needs to be treated as such. Please ask Attorney General Eric Holder to file criminal civil rights charges against Mr. Zimmerman for his involvement in the death of Trayvon Martin, and ask Mr. Obama to grant presidential pardons for Bradley Manning and Edward Snowden. Back to local stuff. Surf Rodeo. It was a great time. I worked there for the weekend, and there were a lot of drunk people driving away on Saturday night and Sunday night, and the public transportation in this county is inadequate, as the previous speaker had mentioned. We had people coming from all over the place, probably even people coming from L.A. that had been drinking on the beach all day and then drove the 101 home, and a simple solution to that would have been a bus that goes from Ventura to Oxnard, to downtown LA Union Station. Have it running all night, have it paid for by the government, and have it free for the people. This would get a lot of cars off the road, and it would keep the county moving, and it would keep the inter-county relationship between Ventura County and LA County it would be a prosperous one, because the people in Ventura County want to work in LA, the people in LA County want to come and spend money on our beaches. It would work for everyone. We need more community gardens. Grass is a waste of water. No new jail construction. I don't like that guy's proposal about a new jail. We need to have housing for the people. We need the prison industrial complex is not the answer to our problems. We need to pass a law which deprioritizes all enforcement of the arcane drug laws and instead provides adequate treatment for addicts. We need to heal the weakest members of our community. Don't kidnap and enslave them. And environmental stuff. Offshore drilling in the Santa Barbara Channel and fracking in the Ojai Valley are a dangerous recipe. We can have an earthquake caused by the fracking, which would knock over one of those rigs in the channel and dump lots of oil on our precious islands, which we love so much. Those union workers that left before I got to talk about them, they want more money. That's great, and they probably deserve it. But you have a lot of homeless people in this town, and you need to take care of them. You need to provide them with housing and showers and job training and education. I guess this is Parks and Recreation Month, so the parks need to be open all night so that the people can sleep there if they need to. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Quickly, if possible, there's a couple items out here I think that we could take on a regular item. We have Victoria Jump, and we see Todd out here from the airports. Maybe we can take a couple of those items real quick before we go to board comments. All right. So I think that's going to be number, 43.
And 44.
And 44. Excuse us. She gets up, or she wants to have some time.
Good morning, members of the board, Chair Foy, Mr. Powers. I was going to run down here, but before you change your mind. I have two items before you. The first is the approval of our strategic plan update for this current fiscal year to the California Department of Aging, which is a required document. So I'm available if there's any questions relating to our update.
Questions or comments?
Just, looking at the report, seeing that 39% of seniors over 65 are having some economic insecurity, and you just really realize that population is impacted mostly by the economy because they're on limited income. So appreciate that, and then also the emphasis on co-housing that we're moving forward on a little bit here in Ventura County. We just hired someone to assist with that effort. So I think that's a really good a mix, I think, that can assist. And I imagine your office is participating in that too?
For the
co-housing?
We will help any way that we can.
Supervisor Foy? Yeah, I just wanted to take this opportunity to point out a couple of things. One, I really appreciated in your report the identification of the particular plight of women over 65 years old. Large percentage of women living exclusively on Social Security, $12,000 a year, and trying to make it living here in Southern California, and it is a particularly vulnerable population that I think we have to really pay attention to in terms of these elderly women who find themselves oftentimes at this stage in life on their own and not prepared to handle all the financial challenges that are presented to them. The second thing that I would like to point out is the home share program that this board has said we want to try to expand countywide, and we appreciate the CEO's office working on the home share program and trying to have us move that. It could be a great opportunity because the statistics, as you pointed out, show many of these elderly people, and particularly these women, have gotten to this retirement age, and they still don't have their home mortgages paid off. So they're trying with Social Security, $12,000 a year, still paying their home mortgages off. If we could match them up with a renter who could help them stay in their homes, many of them, if they can get those mortgages paid off, could have that at least be some affordable housing for them. And so I think this really speaks to the value of us trying to get this home share program to really pop countywide and become a real resource for you and your agency in terms of trying to help these people, these seniors in this situation. And I hope that we think about this, particularly the plight of the women, as we think about our women and where we're going to go forward in terms of our efforts. Thank you very much.
Good report. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney, and your
Second.
staff. Thank you for a good job.
All right, so we can vote on this? Yes.
Good overall strategy that you're presenting to us there.
Just one quick question. Victoria, did we send this report to all the cities so that they have it, they see this kind of information? Because these are folks who are living in their communities.
Once the state accepts it, because after you approve it, they may come back and want additional changes to it.
Okay.
At that point in time, once it's finalized, we do send it to all of our representatives from the cities that are on our advisory council,
Okay,
and so
good.
they share it with the cities.
Okay. Yeah, that would be good. If they have the time, and I know they're volunteers, to actually get on the agenda or on the public comment component piece of every city council agenda to start to raise the level of conversation on what's identified here. That'd be great.
I'll
Thank
make
you.
sure that they have that recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so there we have that. Now we'll move on to 44.
Our next item is an amendment of our bylaws that add additional seats to our advisory council and some other changes.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All right, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. She's happy. We could, ask Todd to wait, but no.
Would you like me to wait?
No.
Good morning, Chair Foy, Supervisors, Mr. Powers. I'm Todd McNamee, your Director of Airports for the county. I have a quick PowerPoint presentation to walk you through what this lease amendment for Golden West Air Terminals is all about. It's really, Golden West has been with us now for just over 5 years and just started a new 5-year option period on the lease for Hangar 1 at Oxnard. And that hangar is actually at a premium rent based on the rent structure that was put in place in 2003 when the hangar was built. Essentially 10% ROI, which if you know today, that would be very, very difficult to accomplish. And so they came to staff and asked for a rent reduction, and rather than reducing rent, we agreed to a rent deferral, which is something we've done with this facility with the original tenant back in 2003 as well, if you remember. So their current rent is about 50 cents for hangar, 75 cents for office. What we're looking at doing is splitting it somewhere between that and the rate that your board approved back in 2010 for all of the other facilities at the 2 airports. In fact, Aspen Helicopters at their Midfield site for hangar and shop pays 28.6 cents because they got their 5-year window just before 2010. And so they haven't been subject to any of those CPI adjustments until their 5-year window comes up. And their office is at 39 cents versus the 50. So we think it fair and appropriate to come up with sort of a middle ground and offer some relief to Golden West. And so what that means over about a 3-year period is we would offer $1,700 a month rent deferral. They would still be paying almost $13,000 a month in rent. But over 3 years, that equates to almost $60,000. And then on the other side of that is capital improvements. Each 5-year term that they are in the hangar, they're responsible to invest in the facility $103,000 or $105,000. And so, well, $1,039,000. And so they've made some investment in the hangar during their first 5-year option, but not completely expending that $103,000. So we're looking to move that into the next 5-year option, along with the $103,000 that they're responsible for in this current 5-year option. And so that deferment could be repaid in one of two ways. One, in 2016, they pay back that rent deferral as a lump sum and begin accomplishing the capital improvements to the hangar, build out of office space, painting the floor, which is something typical in these high-end hangars, et cetera. Or, and this is the more interesting way for me anyways as your director, to add those to their capital investment requirement should we be able to negotiate a lease to redevelop the old Hangar 2 and Hangar 3 facilities at the airport. These are 1940s hangars that are in sore need of demolition and redevelopment. And so we would, as part of this amendment, it provides the opportunity to add that $223,000 of deferral onto what potentially would be a minimum of $2.1 million in capital investment under a new lease. And so we would hope to negotiate that lease by the end of this year with development beginning before 2016. This redevelopment has impact on Aspen Helicopters, and I understand they've sent you a letter, and I'll address that at the end of this presentation, because they occupy half of one of those older hangars. So this little diagram sort of shows you how the occupancy is at the hangars down at the east end. The furthest right outlined in blue is the more modern Hangar 1 that the county built in 2003. The one in the middle is Hangar 2, also occupied by Golden West with a subtenant doing maintenance on helicopters primarily. And then the one furthest left, outlined in green, is the half that Aspen Helicopters has. And then that red box basically shows that would be the new site for total redevelopment of those two older facilities for something modern such as Hangar 1. If you look to the left of the screen in green and purple, that is in green Aspen's Midfield location. So between that and the half of Hangar 3, they currently meet the minimum standards, which requires a full service provider which can sell retail fuel to have a minimum of 20,000 square feet of hangar and office. Should they not be in Hangar 3, they would no longer meet that minimum standard and therefore would no longer be able to provide retail fuel. We've been talking with Golden West and Aspen about this overall redevelopment at the airport for over 5 years now, trying to find a way to make it work for both entities in a fair way. And frankly, Aspen just hasn't been willing to come to the table to discuss it with either myself or Golden West. So Golden West has expressed interest in redeveloping Hangars 2 and 3. They did that earlier this year. We hand-delivered a letter to Aspen Helicopters asking if they were interested in doing the same, looking for one of the two incumbents to take this on so we don't introduce additional competition to an airport that's barely supporting the two businesses already. And they didn't even comment. They didn't respond at all. So that's the concern I'm sure that Aspen has, is their ability to provide retail fuel on the other end of this. So this is just an example of the hangar. This is Hangar 1 where Golden West primarily occupies. It's 20,000 square feet of hangar, 5,000 square feet of office. They're looking at essentially mimicking this development where Hangar 2 and 3 exist today. This is Hangar 2, a small hangar with a low door height built in the 1940s, no fire suppression. And this is Hangar 3, again built in the 40s, actually a wood structure, wood frame and everything, no fire suppression. And in fact, the location where Hangar 1 is today is where one of these hangars used to exist until it burned down in 1996. And then the county rebuilt it in 2003. So moving forward with this lease development is very positive for the airport and bringing the airport into current standards for housing modern aircraft and also meeting fire suppression needs. So the amendment today is really discussing deferral. One of the options is to execute a new lease, but we're not doing that today. So this lease amendment doesn't necessarily impact Aspen Helicopters at this time. It would be when we move forward with the future lease for redevelopment of 2 and 3 that potentially it could. But my understanding, and I'll let Golden West speak to this, is they're not looking to kick Charlie out, nor are we. And so I don't know in the end if it will truly have an impact or not. I did want to quickly address this letter that Mr. McLaughlin submitted, if I may. His first comment in the first paragraph about the Director of Airports has terminated his lease. We have not. We have not issued any lease termination whatsoever. On page 2, he's saying he'd be forced to vacate his present location in Hangar 3. He's actually been on month-to-month status in Hangar 3 since 2001 because the county has always anticipated redevelopment, and we didn't want to have to potentially buy somebody out of a long-term lease when we wanted to move forward with something like this. And so, again, it's my understanding that Golden West would like to keep them as a tenant in Hangar 3, at least until such time that they need to move forward with the demolition of that hangar. And then at the bottom, when it talks about Aspen being the only true FBO at Oxnard Airport, Aspen Helicopters, their primary business is agricultural spraying, support for fire, and government contracts, target recovery for Point Mugu, et cetera. I think that's explained in his letter. The sale of retail fuel, or that part of his FBO business, is really to help offset some of those costs associated with his main business. We're on the other side of the coin. Golden West is there to serve the tenants and visitors to the airport, truly an FBO in the FBO definition in the world of airports. So,
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, I think it's important that we keep Aspen there. They've been there for years and years and years. But it's my understanding, as you said it, that they were given the opportunity to also take advantage of this.
They were.
Project.
They were also given the opportunity to occupy Hangar 1 when it was built, and they declined to do so.
And also, just to share, and I know the supervisor and I belong to the airport authority, and that was the airport authority did approve this item subject to the Board of Supervisors' approval.
Both the commission and the authority approved it unanimously.
And I think it's important that, Aspen is saying that they have numerous jobs, and we want to keep those jobs.
We do.
And also the revenue that and the support that they give to the ag community. So I think it's important. So I was really concerned when I saw this letter that Aspen sent, but I think you explained it well that they're not being terminated. They're not.
We're absolutely not trying to force anybody out, Supervisor. We want harmony at the airport, but at the same time, it's my responsibility as your director to bring the airport forward with this new development, and we have a good opportunity with an entity that's willing to do that. My guess is they'll invest upwards of $5 million.
And we have hangars here that are years and years old, and that wooden hangar.
And they don't house modern aircraft.
Yeah. So I just to share with the board, that the authority did approve this item subject to coming to our board. So.
Supervisor.
Just to add to that, we had a lengthy discussion about this at the authority, and I believe the commission did too. It is tough. We all know and appreciate Aspen, and Charlie has been very engaged in the community. And I think that we appreciate that. But it's a business decision, and the business is, as the director is charged, is to keep our enterprise system of the airports operating on a healthy line, and to do whatever we can to advance the improvements at the airport. So I think by capturing what you did this morning, the history of your efforts to really work with everyone there to advance that tells the story. So it's a business decision.
And another thing too, just for information, we're also looking to bring in airline service to Oxnard too. That
we're working hard at it.
With Modernizing the
goal.
airport, is it really important? Modernizing the hangars and modernizing the facility is extremely important.
Oxnard has a bright future if we can get it
Yeah.
there.
Supervisor?
Thank you. When we get involved in these kind of disputes, it is reassuring to know we're working with a staff that's really earned a lot of credibility. We have a opportunity to get between $3 and $5 million worth of investment in the airport. It has that kind of investment always comes with some change. Change has some impact, and what we want to do is have confidence the staff has thought it all through and said, this is the best thing for the citizens of Ventura County in the long run, who sort of are the owners of the asset. It's very similar to some of the discussions we had with the harbor, on complicated leases, et cetera. So I just want to compliment you for earning that credibility, so when we get to these kind of situations, we can move forward with some confidence that this is in the long-term interest of the county to try to get this investment. And when you see the pictures of the hangar side by side, you can say, think about 50 years from now if you made no change, and you could have 3 hangars that look like Hangar 1 or 2 hangars that still look like Hangar 2 and 3. So anyway, I'm certainly supportive of the recommendation.
Yeah, I would just say that I appreciate the public service that Aspen Helicopters has done over the years, and it would be nice to make sure that they still have space at the airport, and I appreciate the fact that they too are looking at building a new modern hangar too, so hopefully one doesn't exclude the other, and whatever we can do to assist that. But I agree that this is good for the airport, this proposal.
Thank you.
I know you're trying to get Charlie here.
He's very aware that this was being heard from 9 to 10 today. I'm surprised not to see him.
Yeah, so am I. But, okay. Well, I know you're going to speak on this?
We do have Golden West if you have questions of them.
Yeah, I was just curious. I know when you talked about some of the improvements that they were going to do in the other one, they didn't get those done in the first 5 years. But also, it's not like there's major things to do in a pretty new thing. It's pretty hard to do some of those things, and I'm sure from the standpoint, painting the floor looks great. Doesn't make me any more money. I understand all that stuff. So there's part of it. When do we expect, or can we expect that possibly that we would see the other hangar going up or some redevelopment?
If we can get the goal is to get a lease negotiated with Golden West by the end of this calendar year, and then there's going to be some time to get through design and permitting and demolition requirements for hangars 2 and 3. So my guess is probably a year at best before you see anything happen.
Okay, so but within this 5-year lease, we'll see this thing most likely, hopefully, built?
Oh, I sure hope so, yeah. Is that fair?
I have a question for Golden West. If
okay, you want to have come on up and Supervisor?
I just have one question while you're here. Can you offer Supervisor Foy pointed out the challenges of investing in Hangar 1, but could you explain why you didn't meet the requirement to invest $103,000?
Explain why? I'm sorry.
Could you explain why you did not meet the requirement to invest $103,000 in the first 5 years of your lease?
As you well know, after 2007, we had a major recession in the aviation business. And aviation is one of these businesses, the first to go and the last to come back. So during that time, our fuel volume went down, and we asked the airport if they could defer this. And the problem we have is that the hangar's been developed already. It's very difficult to find something to put into the money to the hangar that really has no return on it. So the airport was generous enough to allow us this deferment. So our goal was to take the Hangar 2 and 3 down the road and develop this whole complex into a nice modern facility.
So it's the downturn essentially that caused the problem. Thank you.
Yeah, and then so going forward, trying to balance this, and you've got your fuel cost, and as I know FBOs, and that supports an awful lot of what an FBO does, besides their rents and everything else, and you got to have all the right things to bring in the planes that you want to pay those rents. Trying to manage this with Aspen, how do you see that working with their fuel needs? Because part of our goal is we want to see movement, and like Todd said, his responsibility is to grow this airport, to improve this airport, and take a public asset and make it the best it can be.
Well, see, our situation, we're an FBO that really emphasizes our business is in the fueling business. And the problem we have at Oxnard, there's not enough volume for two FBOs to sustain themselves.
Right.
Charlie has an advantage. He has a lot of business off the airport, helicopter business, and he can do that. We need the fuel business, which we've discussed with Charlie years ago about buying out his location. And because that's our specialty. We have a facility in Burbank. We've had them in Van Nuys, Palm Springs. We've
Right.
been in Santa Maria.
It's what you do, right?
So where our trade is the fueling operation. We do a lot of national marketing, a lot of this. But the problem we have is with Charlie having the low rent situation, he can discount his fuel. Therefore, we do marketing, bring people in. Well, he can grab our people by just getting the fuel. So we need to do the fueling, and so we can have the marketing and get the volume up to where we can make the reasonable return on our money. And we've always told Charlie that we will always work out a deal for him. We'll give him a fuel cost plus something, and so he's out of the retail business, but he's got fuel supply, and he has a reasonable.
And I'm not sure how much of his retail business, besides his own usage, supports a little bit of what he does and help.
50-50 on his fuel usage.
I think it's 50-50.
50-50, okay. So I guess I want to be careful in the idea that, like Supervisor Park said, it's a good service that he does for our military and for a few other things, and ag, something you can't do. It's not what you do. You're in a different business. And so trying to figure out how you guys work out that fuel cost is, and I appreciate you willing to.
Well, we'll sit down. Trust me, we're reasonable.
Yeah, because you want that, you need the volume too. I understand that. Yeah.
So the problem we have in Oxnard is that, and if we were the only fuel supplier, we have an arrangement with the airport that we will do the 3 to 5 airports around the community, and we'll take the average price. But if you look at the pricing the way Oxnard is now, you go to Camarillo, Santa Barbara, Van Nuys, the price is at a certain level, but Charlie is down there, 30, 40 cents below us. So we can't do that. But he has the opportunity to do that because it's really only a backup business fill-in work for his employees. So it makes it very difficult for us to run and do what you want your FBO to do at the Oxnard Airport. We want to promote this airport. We just don't want to bring him discounted business. We want to be in the business of making a return and a profit and to grow the airport, and at the same time making sure he can be competitive in his business, because he has to bid his contracts and do things like that. So we're very well aware of that. We are very interested in our subtenants, the people that we do sell fuel to, making a profit too. And just
well, there's no question. If you don't have the subtenants, you don't get an income off them. They're out of business. So
right,
I understand that.
We don't want to do. It's never been our intent to do that.
Okay.
So.
Well, I appreciate that. Like I said, if we can just make it all work, I think that's great for all of us. And hopefully you guys will be able to work this out if we approve what we're doing here. So any more comments or questions? No. All right. So we have a motion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming in. Todd, and I appreciate all the hard work you've put into this.
Thank you, Tom.
It's been a long time trying to improve. I know you work hard to improve these. Okay. What do we got there? I think the screen's up, but there you go. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for getting us in this morning.
All the best to you. So why don't we finish up these couple that we have here real quick. We have from your office, the CEO's office. Oh, here we go, HR.
Good morning, Chairman Foy, members of the board, and Mr. Powers. I'm David Stoll from the County Executive Office, here to recommend the appointment of Eileen Fizzler to the Gold Coast Health Plan Commission. A vacancy on the commission resulted from the resignation of Catherine Rodriguez from the commission on June 25, 2013. We thank Catherine for her 3+ years of service. The seat vacated represents the Ventura County Medical Center Health System, and the term of the seat expires March 15, 2016. We are confident that Eileen, as the CFO of the healthcare agency, will be an excellent addition to the commission.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. And so she can stay at those late night meetings. Yeah. Who would have asked you to ever serve on that? But All right, we'll move on to item number 47. This comes as the request of the Area 9 Board for one reappointment of an existing member and one appointment of a new member. So we can move that. Missing one vote? Everybody there? Okay. We still missing? You got them all? Okay, then we have our correspondence agenda.
Correspondence.
Everything, and then we go back to our board comments. Supervisor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just like to share, had a busy weekend, but I'll just mention four of the items that I attended. I attended the Gold Coast Transit 40th anniversary, and some of the highlights real quick is they had about 3.5 million rides, for Gold Coast Transit in the western county, which is a tremendous amount of people transported within the county. Well, some of the things that they mentioned too is that they have operators have driven 2 million saved miles without any accidents or chargeable accidents. So they have a really, really good bus operator and crew, and also the staff is doing an excellent job. I also want to comment and thank Melanie Roy for the crisis treatment center that was just opened the other day, and it was just outstanding. The facility is just like being at home. It doesn't have the feeling of an institutional building. It's more of a home type. So I commend staff for that. The VCMC groundbreaking was excellent. It's a major project that I believe is going to really help the community, and as was stated, it's going to create many, many jobs and local jobs for the community. So I think it's going to be excellent addition to the county. I also attended the Ed Hunt Rehab Point over in Oxnard. Ed Hunt was very instrumental in actually working out a path for the seniors and the disabled to go from the park, from the street to the water, to the beach. And we had quite a few people that attended, several hundred people, and disabled individuals and veterans and seniors, and quite a few people participated. And this really a great program for the community. Additionally, I attended the El Rio Fiesta, Santa Clara Chapel fundraiser this year, and that fundraising dollars are used for the church, for the families and children's services there at El Rio. And El Rio is a community that works together and to help the families and the youth there. So it was lots of fun and lots to eat, and there was a couple of prizes that were given. $3,000 for the first prize, and $2,000 second, and $1,000 for the. I picked one of the prizes, but it was just for a smaller prize. But it was just a lot of fun. So, and of course, we had my staff also attended numerous other occasions, but I'll just share those four to start off with. Thank you.
Adjournment.
And my adjournment here, Jim.
Great.
For Brian.
Supervisor?
Yes, thank you. It was great to be there with all of you as we celebrated those two significant events that support our healthcare agency and our healthcare system, that being the residential facility and the hospital replacement wing. Big steps for us, I think, and just great support from the great work by staff and the leadership, and as we move forward in our model of healthcare in this county. So very successful. And to call out that the hospital replacement wing capital campaign is underway, and Amy Towner is the hospital development lead on that, and hope we get it kicked off well and start to have some naming opportunities for the hospital replacement wing. And so thank staff, all the leadership team who really pulled those two events together so well, and what they demonstrate in our commitment to the residents in this county. I also attended the Naval Surface Warfare Center, Port Hueneme Division 50th anniversary. Fleet support is our heritage. It was great to be there and presented the reso on behalf of the board, representing 50 years of support to the Navy systems, and to hear, and they had invited some of the old guys back, and to hear their stories was fun. So it was a great celebration. It was nice to have Brian Miller there, Supervisor Foy, and because of his years of work, of course, so it was nice to do that. I also want to provide to the board the newest brochure that has come out of the Heritage Valley, Santa Paula, Fillmore, and Piru by the Heritage Valley Tourism Bureau. It's a updated, very nice brochure. I think gives a good flavor. These are being put into both the communities Fillmore, Santa Paula, Piru, but also out to what they call racks throughout and beyond the county borders to the larger hotels and tourism events to market the Heritage Valley and all of the good opportunities they have for folks to come and enjoy. Stepping back to a simpler time has been the consistent theme. I have quite the list to provide of adjourn in memory, and we'll call out a couple. One is Mildred Kelly, known to us as Millie. Millie worked with Interface, Ventura Public Services Agency, Job Training Policy Council, Project Director at Arbor, Counselor and Director of Alternative Action Project, avid volunteer, teacher and lecturer at local schools, Santa Paula resident, a wonderful, dear woman. I was shocked when I read that she had passed. I didn't know she'd been ill. And we had the loss of a resident that both Supervisor Zaragoza and I are journeying specifically in memory of. Cliff Brown. He worked for Aspen Helicopter. He was a United States Army veteran and served in the Korean War, a finance officer for the Commemorative Air Force Aviation Museum at the Camarillo Airport, and his wife, Pat Brown, is known by many of us, and he passed tragically. And Doris Jan Rowe, who is a probation officer for the Ventura County Sheriff's Department, and that's it on this list. Thank you.
Supervisor?
Yes, also talking about the tragic incident at our airport, I also want to close in honor of Jim Ayers' experimental aircraft. Yeah, and he was also just before our board not too long ago, and actually was supportive. I think at that time of the leases at our hangars, but just appreciate the good work that he has done, and it was we are sorry to see him go. Also, Councilmember Andy Fox in our city lost his mother, and she was actually a World War II Army Air Corps, and met her husband, who was a staff sergeant also in the Army. So I know that she was very proud of her son, and also will be very much missed. And then also a wonderful lady that served on the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy Advisory Committee, Linda Palmer, just a real advocate for trails in the Santa Monica Mountains, and also working with the state and national parks. So wonderful lady, and I know she's already very much missed. And also a former educator and a lady who is a friend of the libraries, Wilma Poe, has passed away, a resident of Somas. And I'd also ask that we close and honor the other folks on this list. And then regarding the last couple of weeks of events, it was, as you mentioned, a wonderful, proud days, 2 in a row for the healthcare agency, and you were talking about naming the wing of the hospital. I also think we need to find a better name for the Crisis Residential Treatment Center, and something that evokes a lot of what we have there, which is a very homey, welcoming feel, and so less institutional than the previous building. And I know Lou Matthews would be very happy with it, and I hope she'll be able to come visit it. And it was great to see clients and family members there for the opening of that center that will serve the mentally ill and help in that filling of the gaps that we're doing such good work with. Thanks particularly to the Mental Health Services Act and the voters of the state of California who approved it. And then just finally was able to attend the Ventura County Sheriff's Communications Center open house, the new dispatch center for our sheriff. As you recall, it used to be underneath the jail, and occasionally prisoners would put sheets down the toilets and it would flood. It was just like no windows. Now they have a beautiful location over in the General Services Agency building. They've got great windows, good equipment for folks that have to stay, at their station. They can now actually stand and work if they want to, and it's really nice to see the investment in that and for the good people who save lives daily. And I've been pointing out, just because we have so many different incidents with oil wells in our county, and we had a list of just 10 years which has had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of incidents. Some, while it's just one line on a sheet, could be millions of gallons of, actually not millions of gallons of oil, but even in the sense of barrels. Today on our list we had one at from Ventura. I guess it was another barrel oil in the West Fork Hall Canyon, a leak in a pipeline that resulted in the spill. So we realize this continues to go on, and as we look at things, emphasis on fracking in our county and also acidization, we see that we are human and there are often accidents, and it is something that we need to be conscious of so that we make sure that we do everything we can as the oil industry looks like it's going to be expanding into our county even further, that we protect particularly the water supply for our residents. And with that, concludes my comments, and pass it on to Supervisor Bennett.
Thank you, Chair Parks.
You're welcome, Supervisor Bennett.
I'd like to point out to the board members that a former Ventura County Fire Chief has passed away, Stan Mason. He was appointed as the fire chief here in Ventura County in 1971, a long time ago. Came on in 1957, so we trust he's lived a good full life with that kind of age behind him and stuff. But the county family's lost somebody, and I'd like to ask the board to adjourn in memory of the other people on this list. I also was able to attend the Sheriff's Communication Center open house and echo Supervisor Parks' comments about there being a great facility for people that have to spend long hours there manning those emergency lines. I also had an opportunity to attend the luncheon of Gary Zimmerman, who is the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco senior economist, and it was very informative to it happened right after Bernanke made his announcement that they were going to finally change their quantitative easing policy, and the stock market had that significant downturn. And so what he was able to do, and I think it's significant for us just to know, he was able to explain how was the Fed going to unroll or undo all of this expansion of the monetary base that is out there that hasn't actually flowed into the economy yet. And it was a key question in my mind, and I feel much more reassured that they have an ability to make sure that all of that monetary base isn't going to suddenly flood into the economy and cause tremendous inflation. And that by itself made the luncheon worthwhile, but there were a number of things that were really good about the luncheon. And then City of Ojai had their classic small-town 4th of July parade. It doesn't get any better or any homier than that. I was able to participate in that. It was good to see some of our other elected representatives there, Congresswoman Brownlee, Senator Hannah Beth Jackson, also able to participate. And in Ojai, this relates to our board, and we were thanked by some businesses in Ojai, but Ojai has another Solarize Ojai program going where two nonprofits have come together, and in exchange for promoting solarization in Ojai, what they've done is they've gone out, got competitive bids from a number of companies, identified what they think is the best contractor for this given service, and people get a discount, and it's sort of like buying in bulk solar panels in Ojai. And they pointed out that how much they appreciate the fact that the Board of Supervisors has waived the permitting fees for solar installations, and trying to make that affordable, and part of our concept in terms of trying to promote alternative energies and do what we can from that standpoint. And everybody's done a lot to talk about the two great ends of the week we had Thursday and Friday with the opening, so I won't say more there, except to say I kicked it off on Wednesday by attending Livingston Memorial and the kickoff of their new facility up in Ojai, and they do such great hospice work for people. So it was sort of a triple. It was Solarize in Ojai Tuesday, Livingston Wednesday, then the Crisis Residential Treatment Facility on Thursday, and the opening of the hospital wing, or the grand opening of the kickoff of that. You talk about needing a name for the Crisis Residential. It sure felt like being in Ponderosa and Haas's house with that big. I just think it is very homey. It creates a wonderful feel. And so my compliments to Mel and all of the people in the mental health community that participated in creating what is a facility that just has a special feel to it that's going to really pay huge dividends. And then, of course, the hospital, I think we all said it as well as we could there. And I thought it was remarkable. You had 5 supervisors, 5 completely different takes on comments, and all of them, sort of really helped set the right tone for the kickoff there. So congratulations to Mr. Powers and everybody else. And as we pointed out, the real work is now ahead of us to get this thing built properly. Thank you.
Yeah, those were the right comments. A lot of work went into planning, but now the hard part. It's going to be exciting to see it all start to happen. So a lot of good things, a lot of great people have been involved, and the best part about that, the people of this county are going to be served well. So it's good. Hey, during our break, as we all know, Charles Schwabauer passed away. His last appearance was here in October before the board, and when he gave, or not here, but it was in Moore Park when he gave the invocation in Moore Park. So, he's part of the Schwabauer Levens family, more than 100 years in there. So, and Charlie and Mary have been so much involved in what goes on in this county, so it's really tough. But we'll be honoring him next week, so some of the stuff. So anyway, also talking about Moore Park. Moore Park has its 30th anniversary coming up, so been a city for just a little while. And then also during 4th of July, we had that accident. I know you had an accident up in Ojai. We had an accident there, but not talking about the accident. I just got to commend the fire department and police and everybody who was involved, the doctors, the hospitals taking care of it. A lot of people, I think there was a few more people than we heard, going up. But also the reason a lot of people didn't get hurt because of some of the ordinances we have in regards to how far people are back and do some things. But it's just great to see our people respond. Is I guess what you do is you really hear about them until something does happen, and you hear how well they're trained when it happens. So it's good. And then for us as a board, every year we do our budgets, we finish that up. But I asked my staff to go back and say, okay, how did we do as a board? We gave back 8.5% of our budget. We're 8.5% under, so we're contributing to that health. I always want to make sure we're doing our part. So anyway, those are my comments, and I do have to adjourn in memory this list, and we want to stay on time. So
Supervisor Foy?
Yeah.
I neglected to thank the fire department. We had a small brush fire. It started in Lynn Ranch, and we basically, our office is right there, so we were just watching, and a tremendous quick response that shut it down quick. So we were all very happy for that. So kudos to the fire department.
Is that why he came in here?
Mr. Chair?
It's tough.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Let me add a little bit to that, and I just also want to commend our fire chief. That crash over in Oxnard, I was coming back from LAX, and he had texted me that there was a crash there in Oxnard, right off the airport. I just want to commend him for the quick response, that our fire department did, the Oxnard Fire Department and Oxnard Police, I was just coming down PCH, and I just went right over to the site, and my grandson was with me. So, and I just want to commend them for the excellent work that they've done. until you see what they do, they really can't appreciate, the quickness and how they responded to that crash. So I just want to commend the chief, and his staff. Thank you.
Okay, why don't we just, because we're going to have we're going to go for another hour and a half, 2 hours. Let me take a quick 5-minute break and Bill done. All right? Ready to go? All right, we'll come back to and move on to item number 32. This is the resolution for the Park and Recs Month, recognizing the importance of our parks, how they add to the quality of our life by our residents. I don't want to take all your stuff, so I'm sure you'll have to tell me all this stuff, so go for it.
Morning, Chair Foy, members of the board, Mr. Powers. For the record, Ron Van Dyke, Director of Parks Department. Parks and Recs Month. We look forward to this every year to try to recognize different groups that make your parks functional and operational. This year we selected our staff, our park hosts, and our volunteers. And one of the things about volunteers, Supervisor Parks has a small presentation to show some of the volunteer work that does get done in our park system. I do want to give you some numbers, though, that I think are pretty impressive. Over the last 6 years, we've increased our park usage by 75,000 users. So if the numbers keep going in the right direction, and those are users that we can account for. Let me make that clear, because those numbers come from paid customers, not the people that come in. Don't give us any way of tracking them, or our trail users aren't factored into these numbers either. So these are just strictly 75,000 increase in paid customers.
It increased from what's the total then?
We're up to about 285,000 this last year
that's a huge increase
of users. Wow. So we started about 210
that's great.
6 years ago. Now we're up to 285. Hopefully get a little higher. Our day use was a little bit down this year, which was kind of surprising, but that ebbs and flows. It just depends on what year it is and how things are going. Our camping's up 8.5%. What that equivalates to is 11,000 camping nights have increased in the last 6 years. So those numbers are improving. Our camp hosts give us about 8 FTEs a year in work through our camp host program. So we're staffed at 18 people. Actually, I got 6 maintenance people, but I actually have 8 more additional maintenance people because the camp hosts open and close the parks. They will service our restrooms after hours, and they empty trash cans for us. So that's bodies that we don't have to pay for. We give them free room and board as long as they have a trailer. We plug them in, and they give us the service for 20 hours a week. We had thousands of volunteer hours over the last few years through Church of Latter-day Saints. Did 2 major projects for us. Santa Rosa Park volunteers planting plants for Arbors Day a couple of years in a row. They came out with huge donations, and they put in a new round pin arena that wasn't in the original budget and had to be taken out during the construction phase that was just completed and put in. So a lot of volunteer hours. But all this couldn't happen unless I had a good staff. And I got a handful of folks, but they work very, very hard to make ends meet and make the budget work. With these additional numbers that we've increased, our budget's gotten a little bit healthier. And as the old saying goes, I'm not living paycheck to paycheck as we were years back. I got a little more breathing room. Now it's about every 2 paychecks I'm living to. The auditor can tell you, being an old analyst, that days were tight. We were literally, okay, what cell phone am I going to turn off to get our budget to balance? That's how tight our budget was. Now we got a little more breathing room than we had in the past. But our numbers keep going up, and that's due to the hard work of my staff going out there day in and day out to fix and improve the facilities to bring the customers back. And I couldn't do it without them and the leadership of Teresa Lubin, who's my park manager.
Is that, when you talk about the 75,000 people that have added, they've paid to do that, when you talk about your budget, is that part of your increases? I mean, or is that, when they come, does that just pay their costs? I mean, there's no real...
We factor that in through our budget process. We project gate fees is basically where a lot of that, gate fees and use fees are all projected in our budget for our revenue projections. And we'll make adjustments as we see the numbers going up. We'll make adjustments to help balance our budget out to where we can do more things with our budget based off the revenue projections.
Right. And I was talking to them a little bit that I went and saw Mr. Lunn at one of the mobile home parks on the water, realized how inexpensive we take one of our assets. So we could probably do a little bit more and add some, but it's a tremendous place we have there. So anyway, but Supervisor Park, I'm going to come down with Supervisor Parks goes through her volunteers.
We just have some slides of the community out in Santa Rosa Valley purchased a round pen and then showed up early Saturday morning to install it. So we got a few photos of it and thought I'd share it with you on this segment. I know a lot of park districts, some park districts in the area are fortunate to receive some assessment funds on the tax bill, and where we have to rely on things like our park fees and parking. But it's wonderful when the community gets together and donates, and there's the final round pen. And we also have a graffiti management team out there, and they said if any graffiti gets on there, they're going to take care of it too. But it's great to have the volunteers, you say, so involved.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it. Thanks for all you're doing. We have some tremendous resolutions, you know, but some tremendous parks, and people, it sounds like people are really enjoying it.
I'd just like to say two real quick things. One, come 2014, we will be 100 years old. So we'll be celebrating our 100th year birthday this fiscal year. So we'll be back to you for that. And the reason I have all my staff here with me today is because they're actually out working very hard right now, being a Tuesday, to make up for last weekend's use, and so they're all out in the field right now working hard.
I just wanted to mention one thing, and that is, for many people, our park system is their only family recreation. I mean, because of their finances, et cetera, and they really depend on it. And while you've had tough budget challenges, et cetera, you're still touching the lives of lots of young kids growing up who are having wonderful times with their families and making those links with their families and their connections with their families when their parents have maybe just a little bit of time off. And that has a huge impact on the quality of life here in Ventura County. So there is a way you're accessing people that none of our other departments get to do. And I hope that that's one of the motivations for your staff. So thank you very much.
It is. They enjoy it.
Great. Thank you.
Ron, just a quick comment. You say you're going to be 100 years old. You don't look it. and most importantly, the parks don't look it. And I've had the privilege of visiting more than half of them now, gradually getting around to all of them. They are hidden treasures. And you take a lot of pride, you and your team and the volunteers, in making sure they're in good shape. And they're great opportunities. We're so quick to want to go out of town, but right here, we live in paradise, and there's beautiful facilities here. So thank you and your team for having such pride in the quality. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can you help us with McGrath Park?
There's no question.
We did work on that a few years back. What
would that place be like if the county was running it?
Good job.
Quite a place.
I don't want to go there.
You don't want to go there? Yeah, watch out. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ron.
He gave it to him. He's all right. We didn't forget it. I want to, we go on. I would like to go to 34 and understand what county humps are versus bumps. What? I want to understand that. What is this? I used to call them speed bumps. Now you call them speed humps? What is this?
Good morning, Chair Foy, Supervisor Mr. Powers. For the record, I'm Dave Fleisch with the Public Works Agency, and today we're going to talk about speed humps as opposed to speed bumps. A speed bump, by the way, is what you normally see in a parking lot. They're fairly short in their width, a couple of feet, and so it's very much a bump, where a speed hump is much wider and a much more gentler ride over and what we would normally put on the road. So what's before you today is a reassessment of our speed hump policy. Since speed humps are not considered a traffic control device in the California Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, and there are no guidelines or warrants for them, for us to be able to use them on county roads, we have to enact a policy of our own in order to identify what those guidelines and warrants are. This program has been in place since 1986, and we renew it before your board about every 5 years. And the last time it was renewed was in 2008. So it's been 5 years, and we're here again. Basically, it's the same program. We have two recommended adjustments. The first is previously we just notify, in the policy it says we notify the fire, sheriff, and CHP that we have a request for these. We've changed that to request their concurrence, which in fact we've been doing for a number of years. Because obviously if our emergency folks have an issue with us putting them in, we wouldn't want to do something to prevent the emergency vehicles to get through. And so we've just changed the language to deal with what we've actually been doing for quite a while. The second item is including speed cushions, and the difference essentially between a speed cushion and a speed hump is the speed cushion, there's wheel brakes on each side. They're 6 feet wide. They're wider than the wheelbase of a car, but not as wide as the wheelbase of an emergency vehicle. So a fire truck, for example, can drive over them with their wheels passing through the two flat portions, and it'll go underneath so they don't have to slow down. And that's a relatively new thing. You've probably seen some of them in some of the cities, and we're adding the speed cushion as an alternative to the speed hump within our program. Pending any questions?
Supervisor?
I really like the speed cushion concept. It allows us to have some flexibility and not have the impact on fire response time and stuff.
I know that our Casa Caneo MAC is going to be looking at the potential of putting in some speed cushions or humps, and one resident's already saying, I'll give $1,000. So that, unfortunately, the way we operate is people have to actually fund them too in those neighborhoods if they meet the criteria. But we'll see what we can do for them, and I thank you for this revision. We'll see it again in about 5 years, as I see, right?
Yes.
All right, thank you, sir. Let's see if we can get a vote here. If it comes up. It's coming. There it is. All right, there you go, sir. Thank you very much. It's almost 10:30. We could know. The judge, you got something to tell you? Do you have a new associate that you need to tell us about? Or
I have one or two things. I notice I'm scheduled for 5 minutes. Perhaps it will take 8, if you'll indulge me.
Okay, next number.
The big news in the Treasurer Tax Collector's office is that although I could have gotten a rhinoceros during the 8 months it took to complete the hiring process, I did better than having a rhinoceros. I hired Linda Catherine Lee as the Assistant Treasurer Tax Collector. Mrs. Lee is well known to you and fills the bill for what my office needed to a T, and is, as soon as she is officially on board where my budget is paying for her education expenses, she'll embark on a significant tour of educational programs to be up to speed for the things that happen in the Treasurer Tax Collector's office. In the meantime, of course, I thought that I would just go to Disneyland after she was hired, but that certainly is not to be. She actually asks questions and has ideas, and so I've been quite busy since she was hired, and I'm excited about the prospects of working with her. And she's much easier to move into an office than a rhinoceros would have been. Other things, echoing Supervisor Bennett's comments about the economy, 2.5 years ago, I went to a program where economists said that California was in a 20-year downward spiral of death and doom. And certainly it appears that the spiral has been abated, and the credit reporting agencies think that things are much better in California. In a measure of the strength of Ventura County's economy, I'm pleased to report to you that this fiscal year's secured property tax collections showed a $10 million increase in timely payments during the year. And I'm guessing that, although the numbers are not quite final, that it will be another record for what we call voluntary payments timely during the fiscal year. So the people, the property owners in Ventura County are doing well enough that their secured property taxes, which provide a significant piece of the county's general fund, are coming in on a timely basis. Turning to the monthly report, it is more of the same. We are staying short-term in the hopes that we will be able to take advantage of what is expected to be an increase in interest rates. In the last 2 weeks or so, we've had the opportunity to invest about 20% of the pool, perhaps $40 to $45 million of the investment pool has been invested in the last few weeks. And what we're able to buy is items with a annualized yield of 40 to 45 basis points. That means that eventually we're reporting a yield of 44 basis points this month. I would guess that over the next few months it'll be about the same. History tells us that there is a jump in June for some unknown reason, which I can't explain. For several years, the yield has gone up in June, and I already know what it is that you'll hear next month. It's 49 basis points next month. But before I dislocate my shoulder patting myself on the back, I want to make sure you understand that that may be a 1 month blip according to history. I would expect in the 43 to 45 basis points for the next couple of months. As you look at the report, I'd like to remind you that we have Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 3, which report the same information in a different format. And I would like to make this month's Exhibit 3 the last one. It's a number of pages. It's harder to read and find information on. And unless one of you is in love with Exhibit 3, I would like to leave it out of the subsequent reports at this time. Exhibit 1 has all the same information. It's graphically much easier to read and follow. That's it. I ask the board to accept and approve the report.
Mr. Foy?
Yes.
I just would like to welcome Linda Catherine Lee aboard. I had the pleasure of working with her in a number of different situations, and she just, I think that the Treasurer's Department is very fortunate to be able to get your expertise and your work ethic, diligence, staying right on top. I mean, if there's anybody that I can think of from a detail-oriented perspective, you're the person, and customer service also. So you just fit the bill perfectly as was identified. So congratulations, and look forward to your further contributions to the county, just in a different role. So, there you go.
Thank you, Supervisor Bennett.
Yes, well, welcome. You have some comments?
Thank you. Yes, good morning, Chair Foy, honorable board members, and CEO Michael Powers. It has been a tremendous honor, and I'm truly touched and humbled by this great opportunity that has afforded me. I dedicated my public service life as a result of my 3-month stay in the Hong Kong refugee camp back in 1982. I was just 3 hours away from my homeland, but never did make it there, but realized that just to see what the Vietnamese people and the refugee people are going through, that experience really opened up my life to say that I can give so much more by giving back to my country, by paying forward. So dedicate my life in public service and truly love what I'm doing. I think it's a passionate, compassionate perspective. And I really appreciate the nurturing and the guidance afforded to me in all of my career here at the County of Ventura, especially my last 7 years, working at the County Executive Office and the privilege of working under 3 wonderful administrations with Johnny Johnston, Marty Robinson, and now Mr. Michael Powers. I truly will miss all my colleagues, and I will definitely be taking all of that I've learned in the budget, the audits, the endless audits, and the detail orient of various commissions that I will continue to provide that excellent support to the Treasurer tax collectors, as we also have the Treasury Oversight Committee, we have other commissions, and I'm just looking forward to that partnership with the judge and the wonderful staff in my coming days. But definitely I will continue to provide the public service that I'm dedicated to do so, and in my pledge in doing so about over 30 years ago when I made first to Hong Kong. So thank you again for your congratulatory notes, and I do look forward to continue our working relationships, and if we can be of any assistance to you in our office, the judge and I are here for you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Congratulations. I'm not sure about working with this guy, but yeah. He is trouble.
Congratulations.
All right. Just help him get a higher return. We'll be real happy. Yeah. But don't ever lose money. We need somebody else has to vote? Everybody's there? Okay. We there? We're there. Perfect. Good. Thank you very much. You went over 5 minutes. Now these young girls are behind. All right. So we're going to move to 35 as our presentation of the 2013 Ventura County Fair poster. Joining us today, members of Ventura County Junior Fair Board. Is it Mary, Brooke, and Kelly? Right? Okay. Here we go. Come on down, ladies.
So this year's theme of the 2013 Ventura County Fair is Boots, Barns, and Banjos, and this is the winning poster.
Hi, I'm Audrey. I'm here to tell you a little bit about the special days we have at the fair. The first day, Wednesday, July 31st, will be Dollar Day. Until 3 p.m., entry to the fair will be $1. After that, it will be normal admissions, which is $12 for adults and $9 for children. We will also be having Carnival wristband days again this year, Thursday, August 1st, Monday, August 5th, Tuesday, August 6th, and Thursday, August 8th. Feed the Need Fair Cares food drive will take place Thursday, August 1st. If you purchase your adult admission ticket and bring 5 cans of food for food share before 5 p.m., you will get a free return fair ticket. The return ticket will be valid Monday through Thursday, August 5th through 8th. The Youth Day will be Friday, August 2nd, and all fair visitors 12 years of age and under will be free. Seniors and Persons with Disabilities Day will begin Tuesday, August 6th, and opens at 10 a.m. All senior citizens age 65 and older and all persons with disabilities will be admitted for free. $3 Before 3 Day will be Wednesday, August 7th. Entry to the fair will be $3 until 3 p.m. And Military Appreciation Day will take place Thursday, August 8th, and all military personnel with holding a current valid military ID will be admitted for free.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brooke Geary, and this year's Grandstand Arena Entertainment includes motorsports on Wednesday and Thursday, July 31st and August 1st at 6 p.m., $5 admission in addition to fair admission. All concerts and rodeos are free with fair admission. Friday, August 2nd, 7:30 p.m., Billy Currington. Saturday, August 3rd at 7:30 p.m. is Styx. Sunday, August 4th at 3 p.m. is Ramon Ayala. Monday, August 5th at 7:30 p.m., Hunter Hayes. Tuesday, August 6th at 1 p.m., Air Supply. Tuesday, August 6th at 7:30 p.m., Daryl Hall and John Oates. Wednesday, August 7th, 7:30 p.m., Three Doors Down. Thursday, August 8th at 7:30 p.m., Plain White Tees. Friday, August 9th, 7:30 p.m., Cool and the Gang. Saturday and Sunday, August 10th and 11th at 2 o'clock and 7 p.m. is the PRCA Rodeo. In addition to free concerts and rodeos, we also offer free parking and free shuttles. Parking at the fair is limited, so you can save time by using the free fair shuttle at one of these locations: the County Government Center, Ventura High School, Pacific View Mall, Schooner Doctor at Harbor Boulevard, Ventura Unified School District on Stanley Avenue, Oxnard Performing Arts Center, and the Collection at River Park. Are there any questions I can answer? Anyone?
We appreciate the presentation, but I want to ask you, some of those groups you talked about, do you even know who they are?
No.
Hall & Oates and a few of those? Cool in the Gang?
No, she knows Hunter Hayes.
Yeah, I was going to say. I'm going to come down and get that.
I would like to hear a little bit more about the fair poster, right? The creator,
Well, it's a little girl standing by a barn, and there's also a banjo and some boots. I can't remember the girl's name right now, but I think she's 14 and she's from Thousand Oaks. But it's very wonderful. It's a great drawing.
Great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank all three of you for taking the time to come and do this.
We love the fair. I love the fair.
Thanks.
I love the fair.
Okay.
The fair is great fun. We want everyone to go to the fair. Thank you all.
That was great. Yeah, Mr. Powers and I are looking at them, and they're saying those groups, and they have no idea. Who's that? Hall & Oates? What? They're all Joan Oates. All right. Let's move on to item number 36. You're back again. Oh, okay. We should have a motion to accept that beautiful poster. Did you know that somebody from Thousand Oaks had done that?
I didn't know.
Yeah. No, I was thinking that the chair gets it, right? Is that what it is? No. You think they should bring us about 5 or 6 of them, huh?
And you're going to be in the parade again, right, Steve? Or a judge in the parade? Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Here we go.
Well, yep, back again, Chair Foy, members of the board, Mr. Powers. I'm here this morning for 2 things, actually. One is to recognize the hard work of the community to come and save the Stucco Park Avery from demolition, which was on the park's plans to do and approved by the Park Commission for financial reasons. And the second is to put in place an operational plan for future operations of the Avery so we don't come into this problem in the future. It doesn't come with any money, but it tells us how to manage the Avery, manage the bird population, and who's responsible for what. The Avery project as a whole had well over 4,500 man-hours involved, and that's what I could track. I'm sure it was probably closer to 5,000. A lot of donors, from concrete to trash cans to labor, and specialized labor from masons to help put this Avery back together and put it into a condition that it's even better than it was. We now meet ADA regulations, which we did not before, by putting in accessible ramps that meet code and have them wide enough sidewalks, which I'll show you here shortly. I want to thank Animal Services for their great support in this project. Without them, we couldn't have done the project. They had to house the birds at Camarillo for almost a year. From the time we took them out in September, and they went back in this past month. So it was quite a while that they had to house the birds. We did have one casualty and I'll show you the bird mate that passed, unfortunately, by natural causes. Nothing we could do, but it's unfortunate because it was a very popular bird. So Animal Services was really critical in this. I want to thank our contract biologist, Jackie Warden, who is here if you have any questions about the enclosure, about the bird populations, what type of birds we can have, and what type of birds we're proposing to put in the aviary. She's here to answer any technical questions on behalf of that. And Ralph Fernandez, the mayor of Santa Paula, is here, who kind of spearheaded this project to get it to move forward and basically tell the county, stop, we want this, and how can we do this? So those folks are here if you have any questions on that. Some of the numbers, rough estimates to give you. We had the project total costs, estimating man-hour costs calculated from the volunteer hours to hard hours in costs was approximately a $190,000 project. Staff estimates were $150,000. The bulk of that cost came from installing the mesh, which they found out was a lot more challenging than they initially thought it would be, not being experts at stringing and attaching mesh to a hard structure. So that chewed up a bulk of the hours and a bulk of the costs putting that in. If we were to take that and estimate what a contractor would have charged us based off of those figures alone, the project would have been over $237,000 if it was bid by a contractor. So a huge number. County staff put a lot of hours into this project. I have one staff member that was there almost every weekend on his own time helping with this project over the last almost 9 months. And that was Jim Martinez. He spent a lot of time out there, so did his family. So they put a lot of effort. So behind the scenes, there was a lot of stuff going on that the folks, the volunteers on the weekends didn't see, but there was a lot of county staff time put into this project, and the board's donation of $50,000 towards this project was well invested, plus some. So I'll go through the slide presentation. If you have any questions as we're going through, then we can bring up the folks to answer them. This is, if I can get it to work, we'll be okay. There we go. This is a shot of the aviary after some of the mesh was taken off. You can see how pretty dilapidated it is. With the nice red color, and it's pretty bad. This is one corner of it, just the same angle. This is with the mesh still on. This is what that same corner now looks like. With the new mesh, new fencing. The new fencing we put in is coated fencing. It's galvanized coated, PVC coated fencing, so it should last a whole lot longer and keep its look. It's a little more expensive, but it lasts longer. This is one of our sidewalk issues. The river is right directly at the top of that picture is where the river is at, and it kind of eroded the bank and caused some problems. That's what that same shot looks like now. We have a new split rail fence. We have much more clearance there and a very wide 48-inch wide sidewalk, so it's ADA compatible. This is the back of the aviary. The river's to the left. Not very clean looking. There's the same picture now. Nice wide sidewalk. That bump out area there's actually a bench in that area that they can sit and look at the birds. The parakeets are in the very end cage that they can look at. Okay, come on. There we go. And that's from the other angle, from the far end. Same backside. And that's the old parakeet cage. The parakeets are in there. That's where the bench is at. That's what you would see if you were sitting on the bench. That's some damage to the old, some fencing that had to be repaired. Come on. Things being touchy today. That's our two-story structure before, and that's the two-story structure after. This is where our peacocks are at. You can actually see one sitting in the shade up there. That's a male sitting up there in the shade. You can see his tail sticking out in the sun. We do have a male and female in there, and right now we have 3 chicklets running around in there. They decided to cohabitate while they were in the captivity. This is a backup angle from that pretty much the same area, that two-story structure. This is the front of the aviary now. You can see one of the sidewalks coming in by the trash can. There's another one at the far end. Both of those meet ADA as far as slope requirements. This is, again, the front of the aviary after. This is what we call the chase area. This is the area between the cages. That is a dirt floor in there that we had to deal with. And this is what it looks like now. It's nice concrete floor inside. New storage areas that didn't exist before for storage of food, feed, and other items. These gates were donated by Ventura College. Their metal shop built these gates, plus, I forgot now, 20-some interior doors. They also built brand new gates for us, metal gates, so we got all new gates on all the cages. This is a drainage that was put in that didn't exist previously. Mason came in and set all the rocks and did all this work to help drain the area in the parking lot, because when it rains out there, it all sheeted directly through the Avery. That was the way the slope happened. So this drain was put in, and Public Works came out and resurfaced the parking lot to work on the slopes in the parking lot to get them to slope to drain away from the Avery to try to reduce flooding on the Avery and damaging it. This is the bird, or Beretta bird, for folks that remember back. We were talking about groups, remembering TV shows, Beretta. This is the mate that got lost. He lost her mate while they were over at the animal shelter due to natural causes. This is one of our popular birds out there. And a couple of his companions that are in the cage next to it. There's some of our geese with their new water feature that was put in for their pond. There's the water feature in our geese. They make a lot of noise. They're great watchdogs. If anybody walks near the cages, they start squawking. And that's it. So I'm available for any questions. Our biologist is available if you have any questions. And I don't know if Ralph wants to say anything or not.
Mr. Chair, thank you. One, thank you for bringing this forward. This is just to give the board the update on this project and to let you know, and we're planning to have a community celebration. Probably it's sometime in September, maybe about the second week. It's not been set yet. The parks are busy, so finding a time to do that, to really formally recognize that list of donors and contributors that's attached in the agenda, to thank them, and as Ron has pointed out, the hundreds of hours, well, thousands of hours that were really given by the community on this. When we headed down this road, I think there were a lot of feathers ruffled. I had to say that. As we thought, you know, the condition of it, as you could see, was very poor. And the community rallied. The community said this is important to us, and interesting stories that came forward from people saying, for years I've gone and taken my children and now my grandchildren, and you really need to take a different approach on this. And so with the community, and I know there are hundreds of hours put in by staff. Teresa Lubin's been outstanding, and to have the community step forward, contractors and professionals has just been very amazing and wonderful to see this really evolve. Mayor Ralph Fernandez is in the audience. I don't know if you put a card in, but come on up if I can, Mr. Chair, invite him up. And I just want to say that the mayor attended the first meeting that we all, when we said, the community said, no, we want to take a different approach, and he stepped up and said right away, all right, I'll head the community group up. And they formally have formed a Friends of the Steckel Park Avery for long-term sustainability of this Avery for the birds' health, to be able to make sure that they're looked after and taken care of, and to have animal services so fully engaged. They are the ones who certainly, I think, press the urgency of this because of the health of the birds, and that's our priority and always has to be. We have to make sure now that we do everything we can to keep the birds healthy. But Mayor Fernandez was he was the champion and continues to be. I'd stopped out to the site a couple times over the last few months, and he's always out there on a ladder doing something with this group. And he was the one who went to the community college and said, how about some doors? And to their, I want to say, call it the metal shop welding shop. And not only did they do the doors, but they're artistic. They're beautiful. They created some wonderful doors there. So publicly, thank you. And I look forward to our community celebration of this. And it's great work. Great work.
I just wanted to say, I don't think any of us knew what we were getting into. And certainly I didn't. I mean, and I got to be really honest, I think I was the #1 pain in the side for Ron Van Dyke. And I admit it, because Ron was in a very, very tough situation. He's got a budget to deal with, and he's looking at the parks as a budget, and we're at the other extreme looking at the parks as a public entity. And so when all of you and Supervisor Foy said this, the public, some of these people don't have any place to go, and this is their recreation. Mm-hmm. And so the number of people that came forward to support us was amazing. And I know Supervisor Long and I had talked many, many times about getting large donors. We did this with no large donors. We didn't get into large donors, and we raised monetarily about $25,000 of small donations. And that's throughout the county. Every place we went, including we went to Oxnard and Ventura and Ojai, and people would constantly say, I remember as a kid that what the park was like. And so it was quite pleasing to see all these people support us. I don't think any of the contractors that were involved knew what they were getting into. Certainly Steve Alamillo, our concrete guy, he had no idea. I called him one day and asked him if he'd help us, because he had mentioned helping in Santa Paula, and he said, sure, I'll help you guys. Well, it turned from one to the next, all the way down to the V-ditch, which you saw, which was going to be concrete, and then we decided, oh no, that's not good enough, so we actually made the old 1940s style stone, World War II era, concrete ditch, which is more than Steve had anticipated. But Steve is a trooper, and he did it. And he brought all the guys, even our main contractor, Jim Onstadt, who is Mr. Everything. If you need a tool, Jim will pull it out of his tool belt. He has everything. And you need something complicated, and Jim would say, oh, I'll pull out my trusty whatever it is. And Jim had everything. Well, when we wanted to pour the concrete, Steve said, well, I can only get guys one day. It's because they had given up their weekend. These are guys that are full masons, And Jim said, no, we can't do it in one day. And so we had a little argument and basically said, we've only got one day, we've got to get it done. And they did all of the perimeter concrete in one day. State Ready Mix volunteered 5 truckloads of concrete they donated, and all the sand and gravel we wanted. And they donated that and the value of that. Now we, of course, were not satisfied with that, so then we asked for colored concrete, and which added more cost, and they obliged and donated that. Harrison provided the dumpsters for us at no cost. Frank's Paint and Hardware donated a ton of stuff, and I felt guilty going in there because Frank would say, "Is this for the aviary?" And I said, "Yeah," and he'd go, "Take it," and that was the kind of support that we had from those guys. Wheeler Roofing, Kent Wheeler, an amazing guy. He has guys that work for him, but he was a kid that knew the aviary, and so when he found out we needed help, he did it for basically cost, and he himself was up there roofing this structure, and it's huge. It's 180 feet long by about 45 feet wide, and Kent's out there with himself roofing the aviary. Then we have Jim Martinez from the county. And I think he was Employee of the Year a few years back. He deserves to be Employee of the Century.
Oh,
this
nice.
guy is amazing.
Nice
I cannot speak highly enough for him. He had a very tough position because as we were debating between park staff and us, here's Jim in the middle trying to be the go-between guy, and he was amazing. Claudio Frias, a hard-working guy. These guys really do a wonderful job for you guys, and I cannot speak highly enough about those guys that worked with us. Teresa and Ron, they did the behind-the-scenes work, and there was things happening, and they didn't come forward and do it, but it happened, and we recognized what was going on, and their support, was given to us, and it wouldn't happen without their support and without your support. So everybody played an integral part in what we did, and it's even today, you go out there anytime, you'll find people all the time. And I would invite any of you that want to go out and see it. I personally would like to take you on a tour if you have not seen it. We're still not done yet, and that's the reason we are hopefully pushing the grand opening date back into September. And we do have a date, and I don't know when it is.
It's the second week in September, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'll notify you when that is.
So now we actually have a net loss because we're not getting rent for the house.
Because this and a lot of our parks are all in need of this kind of citizen support, and this is exceptional, and particularly the number of small contributions, like you were saying, is obviously something that's very loved by the community, that everyone stepped up. And also there was some mention of potentially of some kind of foundation for future support for the park. But I just think in general our parks could almost use a Friends of the Park Foundation, you know, because So there are a lot of opportunities for assisting these parks and keeping them going. And but when you think about it, though, a lot of it is because that community likes that park. So it's probably best that we keep those funds in that area, and then for other parks, looking at trying to get these kind of friends of the parks for specific parks. But thank you so much. And what not only in money and in-kind donations, but that is a lot of labor. That is a lot of labor, and a lot of weekends given up away from families and all that. So I very much look forward to going out and seeing the beautiful aviary.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Foy. I haven't had the privilege of going out there with Mr. Van Dyke and Mr. Groskold and seeing. Pictures don't really capture it. It is a huge task, isn't it? Huge, and the location of it, very challenging to build this. So I think they're almost even understating a little bit what it took to do this and what a great quality facility it is. And sure enough, just as I was out there, Mayor Fernandez drove up to work on it. So yeah, a great community project, and thank you for recognizing our employees as well.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to meeting the employee of the century here, so it's good.
Yeah, that's
Thank
nice.
you.
That's a good one.
And just one last comment to Ron. I appreciate that you also took forward the operational plan to the Parks Commission, and everyone's adopted it. It'll serve us well over the long term, and working with the community, sustainability of the birds and the parks, and the procedure for what birds are approved, and appreciate the work of the biologists in identifying that for us, because now we've got a clear plan forward. So, motion to approve the recommended actions.
Second.
Well, Ron, was he that much of a pain? But some of those guys that are pains get a lot done, don't they?
They do. They do.
But it's good. I guess you'd do that a lot if you had to get a lot of volunteers around like that.
This is the third major project that we've done with community effort. We did the dog park up at Soul Park.
Yeah.
About half of that park was through donations. Santa Rosa was another huge community effort with donations to finish Santa Rosa and now the bird aviary. So this is, this is the third one.
Yeah, and I like the idea is it was Steve Bennett who said that this is the community's, sometimes only recreation, the opportunity, and they care enough in these locations to go out and put their heart and soul into it. I think that's when you have buy-in, when people do something like that. I mean, that's tremendous. And it would be great if we found friends of every different park that, that we care about it, and then they would have that buy-in and not just, why isn't the county doing this or that, kind of thing. So, but you guys do a great job, and I appreciate all the hard work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ron.
All right. Supervisor Argos, you got a special presentation, don't you?
Yes, I'm really happy to, and I'm going to invite her to the podium, and I'll share a couple of words before she speaks. Pásale para acá. I'd like to welcome to Ventura County and also to Oxnard the newly appointed Mexican consulate, Ana Berenice Diaz Ceballos Parada. And from now on, I'm just going to call her the consulate. The Mexican consulate was appointed to serve the Tri-Counties, but the newly elected Mexican president, Enrique Peña Nieto. Today, she's going to share a couple of words with us about her work here and the leadership that she brings as a governmental official representing Mexico, handling major diplomatic issues, aiding in trade and relationships, and preserving the rights of Mexicans, citizens living and visiting here in the Tri-Counties, and the future partnerships that she'll establish with the county. But before she shares that, I have a little accommodation that I'd like to read and then have her make a presentation, and I'll go down and present it to her. This is welcome to the Mexican Consulate. It is an honor and privilege to welcome you, the new Mexican Consulate, to the County of Ventura, and hope to continue to be an important liaison between the Mexican community and the residents of Ventura County. Whereas it affords of opportunities for both cultures to experience and explore, create healthy dialogue between the visitors and residents. Whereas this opportunities create a partnership promoting goodwill, mutual respect, and understanding for the tradition, historical, educational, and economic exchanges between both countries, the United States and Mexico. Now, therefore, let it be resolved, the County of Ventura Board of Supervisors gives a warm welcome to you, the new Mexican Consulate, Mrs. Ana Berenice Diaz Ceballos Parada, to Ventura County. And I'd like to share a couple of words with us, and I'll go down and present this to you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Dear members of County Board of Supervisors, thank you for this opportunity. For me, it's really an honor to be here with you. Mr. Peter Foy, Chair of the Board and Supervisor of District 4, Mr. Steve Bennett, Supervisor of District 1, Mrs. Linda Parks, Supervisor of District 2, Mrs. Kathy Long, Supervisor of District 3, Mr. John Zaragoza, Supervisor of District 5, and Mr. Michael Powers, County Executive Office. Let me introduce myself and share with you some of the objectives of my government of Mexico and my program of work here in Oxnard. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. I was born in Mexico City. I am married. I studied international relations at Universidad Iberoamericana, and I joined the Mexican Foreign Service in 1998. I was deeply honored to be appointed by President Enrique Peña Nieto as Consul of Mexico in Oxnard, California, which is a great honor and a pride for me. I arrived in Oxnard just a month and a half ago, and I'm really impressed about the great city, its beauty, and the good weather you have in this lovely place. Mm-hmm. Before coming to Oxnard, a friend of mine told me that I was very, very lucky because I found the best-kept secret in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Now that I have been living for 1 month and a half, I know why she told me that. As you may know, President Peña Nieto has established 5 working nexus: to achieve a Mexico in peace, working on a national strategy to reduce violence; to achieve an inclusive Mexico, closing the gap of social inequality and fighting poverty; to achieve quality education for all, having schools to educate free, responsible, and active individuals, citizens of Mexico and of the world committed to their own communities. It's quite impressed to have been the latest minutes here and to listen how the people work here in Oxnard, how they organize to make the parks better. I think that's a good thing that we should learn in Mexico. Also in Mexico, we are looking to achieve a prosperous Mexico that could exploit natural resources in a sustainable way and benefit Mexicans of today and tomorrow who are the owners of that wealth. Also to make Mexico a responsible global actor to honor the place that Mexico has historically had in the world as committed country with global solidarity. With respect to the latter and linked to the bilateral relations between Mexico and the United States, the government of Mexico considers that North America should be a region of opportunity for all. Our common border is an area of prosperity and competitiveness. Mexicans abroad contribute positively to the societies in which they live. Our prosperity must contribute to create opportunities and improve the quality of life of our nationals, both inside and outside our borders. Mexico wants to be a part of this effort. Our country is making structural changes and is moving towards taking the place as an emerging economy. Mexico and the United States are interlinked economically, and positive dynamics are now in place, benefiting both societies. In 2012, Mexico and the U.S. total trade reached $94 billion, more than $1.3 billion per day. Mexico is the third largest U.S. trading partner, as you know. Now I want to refer to the collaboration that has existed in the past between Oxnard and the other counties with Mexico. It is interesting to note that the collaboration between Oxnard and Mexico started long before the consulate was established through the signature in 1964 of a Memorandum of Understanding between the cities of Oxnard and Ocotlan, Jalisco. Through the time, the partnership between our communities has strengthened. As you all know, the consulate was established in 1982 with the purpose of helping and protecting Mexicans living abroad. Among our duties and services, the consulate issues a variety of documents such as passports, consular IDs, visas, birth, marriage, and death certificates, service of public notary, and attorney powers. We also provide information and organize different events to promote education, health, cultural and economic activities, among others. We are conscious that it is through the efforts and collaboration with authorities at all levels that we can achieve our goals. I want to take this opportunity to underline my willingness, support, and commitment to accomplish common goals for benefiting both American and Mexican nationals and to strengthen the bilateral relationship with you. I will look for the occasion to meet with you individually, to assess the needs and to look for the best way to proceed in order to attend our communities in the framework of law and with respect to each other's attributions. If you have any particular proposals, I would like to listen to them. I am sure that in this endeavor, we will count with the support of other interested stakeholders like businessmen, entrepreneurs, academics, political and community leaders, churches, and other civil society representatives. I would also like to take this opportunity to express the gratitude of the Government of Mexico to lawmakers and other interested parties that have worked together on a comprehensive immigration reform plan which, if implemented according to academic studies, could benefit millions of migrants and GDP in the U.S., would grow in 10 years. It would also create thousands of jobs and would also increase wages by 10%, contributing to stimulate the American economy and the global economy as well. Finally, I want to extend you a cordial invitation to join us on August 11 at Oxnard College during the Days of Mexico to share with you information regarding the actuality of Mexico, our culture, our gastronomy, our traditions, as well as to enjoy some typical Mexican performances. As every year, I also want to invite all of you to celebrate with us Mexico's Independence Day, which will take place at Oxnard, in Ventura, in Ojai, and Santa Paula on Sunday, September 15. It will be a great occasion to share with you the taste and colors of our marvelous country. Dear Council members, I want to reiterate you my disposition to work with you and remember that the Consulate's doors are always open for you. And be sure that in all my colleagues that work at the Consulate and in myself, you will always find the support you want. Thank you very much for this occasion. I'm really honored, and I'm very much looking to work together with all of you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Congratulations on your new appointment.
A couple more things. We've worked with the Mexican consulate for many, many years. In fact, Michael Powers and Dr. Bob and Ventanitas de Salud, the windows of health and opportunity. The consulate has also worked with the Oxnard School District in many issues, and also we've worked with Sheriff Dean on many issues to resolve some of these issues and work with the Mexican community. So thank you so much for the excellent presentation, and welcome again to Ventura County and Oxnard, and I'd like to present this to you.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Zaragoza, for all your support all these years.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Take a picture. And I think just about a couple of weeks ago, we received about 16,500 books from Mexico on cultural activities and also educational activities and so forth. And how many hundreds of dollars have we received, Michael, from Ventanitas de Salud? About 35,000 or so?
Yes, from the Mexican government. That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's been a great contribution.
And she says she's going to increase it more. So.
Even more. Wow. It's been a
I'm
very...
going to increase a little bit.
Well, thank you. It's been a very effective partnership.
Muchas
Thank you.
gracias.
No, gracias a ustedes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay.
Gracias, and thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
One more vote, John?
Oh. Vote for my own.
Oh, that's it. There we are. I think that's it. We have anything else we have? Nothing else? We have closed session. And do we expect an announcement out of closed session, sir?
There may be an announcement out of closed session.
There may be an announcement out of closed session. All right. So we'll come and, if not, we'll adjourn out of closed session. All right, thank you.
It's item 40. That's what on my list.
Are you ready? Okay, then we have an announcement on closed session.
Mr. Chair, the board considered in closed session pending litigation case in front of PERB, the Public Employment Relations Board. Name of the case is SEIU Local 721 versus County of Ventura. PERB case number LA-CE-823-M. And the board has approved a settlement in that case. And the substance of the settlement is that SEIU will withdraw its unfair labor practice charge, and the county has agreed to provide specified dietary workers at BCMC with the right to purchase food at the cafeteria at a discounted rate.
Right. Great.
Thank you. And the vote was 5-0.
Okay. All right, we have no other announcements coming out of closed session?
Should have no other announcement.
Okay, then we'll adjourn out of closed session.